we have to intelligently use our emotions at the home front also. We cannot be making a fake, we cannot have a mask while we are at home, and we cannot have a mask while we are in public. Yes, I understand. We have to follow some ethical guidelines. We have to follow some professional guidelines. We have to follow some beautiful friendship guidelines. But at the same time, it doesn't give us the right of faking our emotions. So in office as well as in the family also, we understand that like maybe how intelligently we handle our emotions. That's the art of balancing all these things. So I will not say much, but because like my lead speaker, Angela, she has already spoken so much about emotional intelligence. So I would go back to Angela and so that she can ask the question answers also from your side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Thank you, both of you. Tell me, I wonder if there are some questions anyone would like to ask from either myself or the panelists. Yes, you're the first one.
First is, how one would improve one's emotional intelligence is the way one can improve. Like, for example, if somebody gets under stress and may not act accordingly, the way one should act in a given situation, and it happens with people all the time.
I think the question is how you can react in the correct way when you're feeling stressed yourself. No. Sorry? I couldn't quite hear you.
What I say, if somebody's, it's like intelligence questioned, IQ, there's EQ, how one can improve one's EQ.
How you improve your EQ is the question from the floor. Whoa, wonderful. It's not just overnight, and it's one bit at a time. And I think that the very first thing is you have to recognize what it is that's being created in you by the impact of whatever it is happening outside you. Recognition of that. I have a little one to tell you. I had a terrifying thing happen to me, and I was terrified. I had a phone call from our British ambassador in Washington inviting me to go and see one of the most important and one of the most powerful men in the UK a few years back. His name was Robert Maxwell. He's like Rupert Murdoch, only he was the opposite number. And he's 6'5", he weighed 22 stone. And the phone call from our ambassador was, Angela, he wants you to see him this afternoon. I was sitting in my office. I looked around. I thought, I just don't want to go. I just really, really don't want to go. So I said, I'm very sorry. I'm afraid I'm very busy this afternoon. He said, well, then tomorrow morning, that's Thursday morning. I'm tied up Thursday afternoon. I'm sorry, I have client meetings all day. I was just thinking, give me a fan, someone, give me a fan. I just can't bear it. And in the end, he said, well, okay, Andrew, you tell me when you can come. And I thought, what's the most unlikely time he'll have free in his diary? Okay, 11:15 on Friday, I have a gap. And I waited. And there was a pause, and he said, okay, I'll rearrange the diary. And he did rearrange the diary, but this is the important thing. I had 3 days to work out just how frightened I was. In those 3 days, I didn't work out what my game plan was, but I worked out that whatever it was, it's my way or the highway. I wasn't going to be bullied. I prefer not to have the business. I got in the lift that takes you straight to the 7th floor. The lift door opened. There are about 25 Arab gentlemen in white flowing robes, all waiting, obviously impatient. And I was walked past all of them into the inner sanctum, and I met Robert Maxwell. We sat down for an hour. The first thing he said to me put me at a great advantage. He was quite a womanizer too. I'd gone a very severe little grey suit. I'd put on a white shirt, and I'd borrowed one of my husband's ties. And it was pale blue, and my hair was down to here, and I looked very sedate. And when he opened the door and came in, he looked at me and he said, good Lord, you look like a schoolgirl. And I said to him, thank you very much, because I knew it would completely disarm him. He had no way of coming at me. We did a very good job specification. At the end of it, he said, right, that'll be it, thank you for coming to see me. And I said, well, actually, because this is when I had to really exert my power, because otherwise it could have gone a wrong way. I said, well, there are just a couple of things I need to say to you. The first thing is that okay? Have you got time? Yes. Right, the first thing is, I'm not going to be able to send you anyone who's in a permanent job because I know that you have quite a movement of staff in your office, and it's not my way to spoil someone's work record. So I will send you very good people, but they will all be in temporary employment, so they have nothing to lose. Now, if you're happy with that, I'm happy to go forward. And he said, okay. I said, excellent. I said, there's just one other thing as well. In our terms of business, we ask our clients to pay us on in the month because we pay our staff on a Friday. In your instance, I'd like you to pay me every Monday because that is the way I'd like to do business with you. Is that all right with you? Because we knew he was bad with his money and bad with his pension. And he paused and he said, yes, that's all right. He went to get up and I said, there's just one other thing. Because I was beginning to feel quite good by now. And there's just one other thing. Now, this was important to me because I'd killed him stone dead on 2 straight business issues. And I'd made him succumb. The third thing was, in my way, and that was to say, Mr. Maxwell, it's my way that I like to thank very sincerely anyone who's kind enough to recommend me to a client. In this instance, I don't know who is it who was kind enough to recommend me to you. And he said, I don't disclose my sources. And I sat very still and I just said, well, that's a great pity because that is not my way. It's my way to pay proper respect to people who have recommended me. So I would ask you again. And I just sat very still. I didn't move a muscle. And then he said, Spencer Stewart. I said, how kind. That must have been David Kimball, the international global, the global chairman of Spencer Stewart. How very kind, and how kind of you to break your rule to tell me, because I really appreciate the fact that you've done that. What I meant was, I appreciated the fact I'd broken his will. I never had a problem with him. Other people I know had a lot of problem getting money and respect. I never had a problem, and he was never rude to any of my staff. So, now that's an example. Now then, it took me 3 days to get over my fear that time, but the next time I had it come at me from a 5-star general when I was recruiting for a princess, and he said, right, I want your shortlist tomorrow morning at 9:30, and it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, that's a great shame because I've taken a great job specification. I have some good ideas, but I cannot comply to 9:30 tomorrow morning because if I were to do that, I'd be lowering my standards to you, and I can't afford the reputation of my company by doing low standard work. So I'm very sorry, if that is your absolute wish and requirement, I'm not going to be able to help you. He looked absolutely astonished. He's used to giving directions, he's a soldier. And then he said, I understand. And I said, thank you for your understanding. So but it took me 3 seconds to know that's what I had to say, because it took me 3 days to work it out before. So I think you have to practice your emotional intelligence, practice looking at the route you've taken that worked, and then just you get quicker and quicker and quicker.
Angela, may I add to that too for everyone? So in support of what Angela was talking about, of course, it's really looking back into certain circumstances that have happened in your own life, and then being able to reflect and have the awareness to say, okay, where could I have had more awareness, right? Because we think of emotional intelligence like IQ. If we think of it that way, then we're like, okay, we have to get this score on the math test, this score on the reading. But really, it's more than just that. It's the emotional connectivity to yourself. But in order to do that, which is why very simply and very briefly, I have, we've created from the course of a ton of different modalities of research, very simple toolkit that you can actually, and it's actually on our website, it's emotionalgrit.com, and I'm here in the back to kind of talk a little bit more about that, and so I can share some of this with you, but very, very easily, what it is it's just having the awareness, and you can practice this every single day, is just self-aware, being even with the people that's, look right next to you, look to the right and look to the left. Everyone has a different story. Everyone has maybe certain things that they woke up with this morning, and you might take it personally, but in actuality, they might be, going through a breakup or going through something that's very internal. So that's just a perception and perspective, and that's just one piece of emotional intelligence. The second thing is then accepting. So accepting your current situation. Okay, you're sitting next to somebody and she's giving me a dirty look. maybe she's not taking it out on me. It's something that she's feeling, right? So again, that's empathy. And then lastly, action. Well, action would be what I just did, or getting up, right? And it's just a very small example, but I hope that gives a lot of value. Does that make sense for people? Maybe a little bit.
And perhaps I could also ask Seema to have a word.
Excuse me, just have last question. Thank you very much, Angela and Nita and Seema. Yeah. My question is that we all have understood, in Indian scenario, if you look at it, we always teach or nurture our children to connect with others' emotions rather than to connect with emotions of self. We keep on telling and nurturing in the homes like this only. Take care of others, think about others, and bottle your emotions and get along with others' emotions. This is what is being taught. So my questions to all this panel of experts, can you just give us some parenting tips to nurture emotional intelligence in the children?
Yes. See, when I think maybe most of the time when we see that we are just like walking, we're sitting in a metro or in a bus or maybe in an aircraft. So there are some people, we like maybe I'll smile at you and you smile back at me. So what happens like maybe, and then some people, we just don't feel that like maybe we just like give them a very vague look. Or the other person, without even knowing you, without even we just know each other, we will just like give a very, very, very ugly look to each other. Is it not going? Yeah.
I'm very sorry. I'm afraid we've been asked to clear the room. May I thank our panelists so much for giving their time, and thank you all very much for participating. I'm sorry we can't take more questions. If you want to do one of the exercises, Janet here at the front can take your business cards, and we can send you some stuff for you to fill in at home for yourself. And thank you very much indeed. It's been lovely talking with you. Thank you.